as an organisation, I guess to put it in context, we have a global strategy, but from a regional perspective, we really wanted to drive disability confidence and disability inclusion across our Asia Pacific region. And so we spent some time really coming up with a strategy. Now, our region is 135,000 employees across 19 different markets. Sort of 60-40 in terms of about 60% of that population are in global service centres, tech centres, call centres, etc. And the 40% are in what we would call our bank side operations. Unlike many of our other strategies, we did absolutely take a different approach with disability confidence. And so rather than really going through our HR teams, which a lot of us do, we often go out to all of our heads of HR and say, this is what we're doing and this is what we need you to message. This time around, we went with a slightly different approach, and we appointed a regional business leader to be our disability advocate, sponsor and leader. And so our CEO from our India business stepped up into that role. And what we really saw was this fantastic energy that came from a business leader going to a business leader. So in the past, I would reach out to the heads of HR and say, I want to organise a meeting with you and etc. And it won't take a while. In this particular scenario, the CEO from India emailed his 18 CEO counterparts and said, by the way, this is really important. I'd like time on your executive meeting and this is what we're going to talk about. And so we went to 18 different meetings, all of them the executive meetings. So he was very clear. He didn't want it to be CEO to CEO. He wanted it to be CEO to the entire executive team. He wanted all of the executive team to hear it at one time. So we did that, and the CEO from India and I went to every one of those meetings. We scripted them so they got the same message in every single market. And part of what we did was we gave them some very crisp facts, but we really drove it from a business lens. And one of the things that we talked about as part of that was we kind of gave them the, here's why we're doing it, here's what we need you to do, and here's the next steps you need to take. And so we gave them 3 very specific steps that each of them had to take, and then we followed up with them afterwards. One of those things was they had to appoint a business leader on the ground that would be the point of contact for myself and the CEO of India. So really by default, we got them to appoint a senior business leader to drive disability within their specific markets. The second thing we said was we would have each market complete the ILO GBDN self-assessment tool. And to Susan's point, we very much positioned it as, we don't want you to leverage what you think we have at a global or a regional level. We want you to answer this from a market, very local perspective. And we went out to them and said, look, there are multiple ways you could do this, but we would recommend a team of procurement, IT, facilities, corporate services, HR, talent acquisition, whomever, is involved in processes. And you can either come together as a collective and complete it all in one meeting. You can email it out and assign questions to particular parts of the organisation and bring it all back in. So we gave them a couple of different ways, but we also said to them, we're not going to dictate to you how you do it, but there are 2 things that you will need to do. One is you need to send us back the completed self-assessment and the corresponding report that comes back after you've actually submitted or completed that assessment. And we've given them until the 31st of October, so I expect to get 19 of them tomorrow, maybe 17, and I'll chase 2. But essentially, we also in our original comms said, don't overestimate, because what will happen after we do this is you will action plan. We will action plan at a regional level, you will action plan at a local level. Now, if you overinflate, we're going to expect really big things, and you're going to have to fill the gaps where you've overinflated. We also said don't underestimate where you're at. because there is little to be gained in your local market from under-egging it, for want of a better term, because what we want is progress, and we expect progress from everyone. So the intent is very much to bring all of those results back and actually map out across those 19 markets. So then we've got a regional lens and a regional view. And I think, Susan, you said it's about baselining. Where are we at now? Now, if 18 of 19 markets have all answered one question no, we know regionally we can come in, help build something, create something. Maybe it's communicating something they don't know about. Maybe it's an actual process, whatever it is, but we can drive that regionally and kind of pick up a few of those. If we find out 2 markets have said no and 17 have said yes, we can kind of find out what's the best practice across those 17, share it with the 2 that don't, and it's a reasonably quick way to kind of help bring everyone up to the same baseline. And so that was part of really our planning. It was about establish a baseline, find out where we can quickly bring everyone up to the same level, and then organisationally we can drive forward as a collective rather than kind of having this really disparate or spread mix of where people are at in the journey. So far, that's the journey we've been on. I've had a few people reach out to go, what about this question? What about that question? But we've always been really consistent in our response, which is answer it based on your local experience. It's okay to not know. It's okay to come out really foundationally. This is not about name and shame. It's not about sitting there and saying, oh, wow, you're not in a good place. It's about helping us know where are we at, where are the things that we can quickly work on together, and then what's our longer term. So it was about having an action plan based on data rather than an action plan based on what we thought might be happening. I'm going to pause there. Susan, you and I have talked a lot over the last few months. What haven't I shared?
I want to take you back just quickly before we look at what Siemens are up to the fact that you've now got 18, 17 business leaders as executive sponsors in those markets who in fact now are poised as almost a network in their own right to look at the results of the self-assessment and decide where the priorities should go.
Yeah, and look, one of the things that's been really great about that is even when we communicated about the self-assessment, we went straight to those business leaders. Now, we sent a follow-up email to the HR team as a courtesy to say, hey, by the way, we've launched this, but we didn't send them the same email. And we sat there and said to them, this is not about you owning it. This is about your business leader who has been nominated. It is their responsibility to own it. And I've got to say, the response has been really refreshing. The business leaders have really stepped up. They've loved the fact that they've had that direct ownership of it. And the fact that they've been able to really, the CEO from India was fantastic at really having that business lens. So he constantly always brought the conversation back to what's the impact for our customers, what's the impact on our revenue, what's the impact on our bottom line. So when you then have the CEOs all talking about it and going, this is a business issue, because it's not going through HR, it's not a people issue, it's not a someone else do a policy and fix it. And that's been a really big game changer for us in the organisation in terms of who then owns actions and responsibilities and driving things forward.